How about A'ja Wilson? Not only the shot, but show us a little something coming down the floor.
Much of the media has led us to believe that there are only two players in the WNBA. Of course, we're talking about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Absolutely everyone is talking about them, from journalists to fans to YouTube channels like this one. But it's time to do justice to a player who, despite many accomplishments, has not been able to get the spotlight she deserves. A'ja Wilson is, for many, the best women's basketball player in the world.
Clarendon trying to stay with her. Wilson, a corner three. And that one is good.
And at just 27 years old, she has a long career ahead of her. After saving Team USA in this year's Olympics and dominating the entire season, her superiority is unquestionable.
10 seconds, turn and shoot, blocked away! Get out!
But how far can she go? Where does the performance of the first half of her career place her historically? Or in other words, how good is A'ja Wilson actually? Let's talk about it. Are you familiar with Steely Dan, the legendary New York rock band from the 70s, known for their genre-blending magic? Well, that was the favorite band of Roscoe Wilson Jr. And yeah, you guessed it, Roscoe just so happens to be the father of the Los Angeles Aces starting center. And his favorite song, to no one's surprise, was called A'ja. From the beginning, it seemed that A'ja had a gift. Her high school career at Heatherwood Hall Episcopal School in South Carolina was simply stellar. There she played power forward, and by stepping back from the rim, she unleashed a whole new level of her skill set. This allowed her to expand her game and showcase her versatility in ways we hadn't seen before. And the truth is, she was unstoppable.
Hey! Come on! Come on!
Throughout her 119-game high school career, she didn't just put up numbers, she dominated, averaging a monstrous 24.7 points, 13.9 rebounds, and 4.3 blocks per game. But it gets better. As a senior, she took it up another notch, torching defenses with an electrifying 35 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 blocks per game.
Ray now with 17. Here's the MVP going at Boston and rolls it in.
Talk about ending on a high note. With outrageous numbers like those, it was no surprise that she was crowned the National High School Player of the Year in 2014. Naturally, with those stats, every college in the country wanted her on their team. The heavyweights of women's basketball, UConn, Tennessee, North Carolina, you name it, they all rolled out the red carpet for A'ja. But she chose to stay true to her roots, committing to the South Carolina Gamecocks right in her hometown.
Wilson with the basket and a three-point opportunity, and that is going to be the challenge all day.
Sure, South Carolina had a solid reputation, but unfortunately, they had never hoisted the NCAA Women's Tournament trophy, but that was about to change. The huge competition on the roster made Wilson come off the bench during her freshman year. Even so, in only 19.8 minutes per game, she was able to average 13.1 points, 6.6 rebounds, and 1.8 blocks per game. It didn't take long for her to gain the trust of her coach, Don Staley, who used her as a starter from the beginning of her sophomore season. Averaging 16.1 points, 8.7 rebounds, and 3.1 blocks per game, A'ja became one of the best players in the always difficult SEC. However, her ceiling was still far away. Her potential was far greater than she had shown. In her junior season, Wilson achieved her goal, what she'd been dreaming about throughout her entire childhood. In that 2016-17 season, A'ja became a Division I champion with her hometown college. Her averages rose, and her ability to perform above expectations in big moments was evident after an unforgettable run. But even that version of her was still not her ceiling, because in her senior year, just before entering the WNBA draft, Wilson increased her averages to an absurd 22.6 points, 11.8 rebounds, and 3.2 blocks per game. In all of women's college, there was no better player.
Tone for this game was set early. A'ja Wilson on the defensive end, but what a move in the spin cycle.
And the WNBA scouts knew it. A few weeks later, A'ja Wilson's name was called first overall by the Las Vegas Aces in the 2018 draft.
With the first pick in the 2018 WNBA draft, the Las Vegas Aces select A'ja Wilson from the University of South Carolina.
A team fresh off a miserable 8-26 season and still settling into their new home after a decade in San Antonio. But the Aces found their ace in Wilson, the perfect cornerstone to build their new franchise around. And boy, did she deliver, making an impact from day one. During her rookie season in the WNBA, A'ja averaged 20.7 points, 8 rebounds, and 1.7 blocks per game with 46% shooting from the field. Her impact was undeniable.
Wilson Fades away and knocks it down.
driving the Aces to 6 more wins than the previous season. Her contribution was nothing short of game-changing. With those killer stats, it was a no-brainer. She was a lock for Rookie of the Year. She didn't just shine, she blazed her way to an All-Star selection and even cracked the top 10 in the MVP race, finishing 7th, again, as a rookie. But here's the wild part. This was the worst version of A'ja Wilson we'd ever see in the world's premier women's basketball league. Just let that sink in. 2 years later, in 2020, A'ja got her first career MVP in COVID's shortened season. She was also selected to the All-WNBA first team and All-Defensive second team that year. At just 23 years old, she had become the best player in the world. And it wasn't just her individual brilliance lighting up the court. It was contagious. Her energy and play elevated the entire squad, propelling the Aces to their second finals appearance in franchise history that summer. But it was the Seattle Storm, led by the legendary Breanna Stewart, who had the upper hand. Even though A'ja was already the best player in the world, she had to showcase her dominance in the playoffs. The real test was proving herself in the clutch moments that mattered most. 2021 wasn't the best season for A'ja. In addition to slight drops in her averages, A'ja and her Aces suffered a premature elimination in the playoffs, losing in 5 games to Diana Taurasi's Phoenix Mercury. That season, she was only selected to the All-WNBA second team and finished 6th in the MVP race. But her revenge tour? Oh, it was about to be one for the ages. An unstoppable, unforgettable chapter in her story. Wilson had already excelled as a great defensive player. If you go back to her high school and college days, you'll see she was a true menace as a rim protector. But in 2022, A'ja realized that defense was what really won championships.
Second player to have a 50-40-90 season in league history as Wilson swallows up Ionescu in it.
That season, Wilson was an absolute force, posting career highs with 1.4 steals per game and 9.4 rebounds per game. She locked down the court so well she was crowned Defensive Player of the Year. But she didn't stop there. She snagged MVP honors too after leading the Aces to a league-best 26-10 record. Talk about a season for the history books. Her legacy was already set with those stunning individual accolades, but there was still one final piece missing: a championship. That season, everything shifted dramatically. Facing off against the Connecticut Sun, her Aces clinched their first ever championship title in just 4 games. A'ja Wilson demonstrated her winning pedigree at every level: high school, college, and now the WNBA, turning teams with no prior legacy into champions. And the scariest part? This wasn't even the peak of what the Aces star center could achieve. Fast forward to 2023, and the Aces struck gold again, back-to-back championships. A'ja lit up the scoreboard with a career-high 22.8 points per game, alongside 9.5 rebounds and 2.2 blocks nightly, earning her second Defensive Player of the Year title. Though she finished 3rd in the MVP race, the real headline was her back-to-back titles with the Aces, joining the elite company of the Houston Comets and the LA Sparks as the only teams to go back-to-back in league history. And those dynasties? They're relics from over 2 decades ago. Just when you thought A'ja had hit her peak, she shattered expectations once again. This season, while everyone's eyes are on the Rookie of the Year race, Wilson is crushing her career highs. She's lighting up the stats with 27.5 points, 12 rebounds, 2.7 blocks, and 1.9 steals per game, all personal bests. Her turnovers are down and she's shooting over 50% from the field. This 6'4" powerhouse is dominating games with incredible ease. And right now, her Aces are the second favorites to win the championship according to bookmakers, trailing only the New York Liberty, led by Sabrina Ionescu and Breanna Stewart. The chase for the title is on. So back to the million-dollar question. Just how good is A'ja Wilson actually? Well, the short answer is she's absolutely amazing. A true one-of-a-kind athlete. Let me break it down for you. During the 25-plus year history of the WNBA, there have only been 3 players capable of winning 3 MVPs. Sheryl Swoopes, the legendary player from the Houston Comets, Lisa Leslie of the LA Sparks, and Lauren Jackson of the Seattle Storms. This season, A'ja Wilson is poised to snag her 3rd MVP. Well, there's practically a 99.9% chance it'll happen, but here's the thing. She's not just an MVP caliber player, she's also a Defensive Player of the Year juggernaut year after year. Lisa Leslie won it twice, Sheryl Swoopes 3 times. So, if A'ja clinches her 3rd Defensive Player of the Year this season, she'll match Swoopes' illustrious resume, considered considered by many as one of the best WNBA players ever, if not the best. And let's not forget, A'ja is just 27 years old. Her career is still in its prime, and the best is yet to come. Let's not overlook her relentless evolution. Every time it seemed A'ja Wilson had reached her peak, she came back stronger, showcasing an even more dominant version of herself after each offseason. After delivering one of the greatest individual seasons in WNBA history, she might just be scratching the surface of her potential. With her talent and trajectory, she's on track to be considered the greatest of all time, joining the ranks of the exclusive GOAT Club alongside a handful of other legendary sports icons. So yeah, we can confidently say she's pretty good.